Now, BC is home to a fantastic tide-to-table shellfish company with a long history and a convenient downtown Vancouver location, too. So joining us here in studio is Tommy Shorthouse. Tommy's the executive chef of the Fanny Bay Oyster Bar and Shellfish Market. Tommy, hello there. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so very much for having me, Gloria.
Oh, you've got such a spread here. You know, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the history of Fanny Bay Oyster. What makes it so special?
Absolutely. So Fanny Bay itself is a 40-year running company, and it's been going for 40 years, and it's a fifth-generation family-owned and operated operation here up on the West Coast, an hour drive north of Nanaimo, so very close to home. Very, very cool.
I love that. Every time we drive by Fanny Bay, it's like, you've got to get a container of oysters. They don't come any fresher than that. So, I mean, some people feel a little bit, you know, ooh, oysters. I don't know if they feel a little bit squeamish about having this fresh seafood. What do you say to them?
That's right. I mean, obviously, having something that looks the way it does, I can see how some people might be a little bit off-put by the idea, but obviously, having oysters in its rawest form is my personal favorite way to enjoy them, but there's so many other ways to enjoy oysters. We could have them baked, we could have them fried, we could have them in a stew or a chowder format. So there's a lot of versatility. Where
would you like to start? Why don't we start with the shucking? Because that's part of that. It's got to start there. You got to get it out of the shell. But wait a second. Well, why don't we get in close on this?
Absolutely.
Richard, so tell me just about what we're looking at right here.
Okay, so we have three different oysters here. So we have our crown jewel Sunseekers coming from our farm on Fanny Bay. These are a bag hardened oyster, and we also have beach hardened oyster. We have our Fanny Bay smalls and extra smalls here. So these are a 2 to 6 year old oyster. Sunseekers take about 2 to 3 years to grow to its mature level to be sold. Here we have a 2-year-old oyster, and here we have in between a 5 and a 6-year-old oyster.
Wow. Now, taste-wise, would I taste the difference between an oyster that's newer? Would the younger ones be sweeter, or?
Generally, the younger ones will have a tendency to be a little bit on the sweeter side because the development of kelp and different flavors have a tendency to build up in the larger oysters and in its flesh on the inside.
Right. Now, tell me. Do pearls actually grow inside the oysters?
Absolutely, and we've been blessed to have a couple join us ourselves. So we have a little pearl jar at work, what we like to call it a little pearl retirement fund. But we're a long way away from that. But yes, they are few and far between, though.
That is awesome. Okay, back to the shucking.
Okay,
now.
Perfect.
Talk about your technique. Why
Absolutely.
Don't you?
Okay, so we have an oyster here, beautiful Fanny Bay. Beach hardened oysters. So because they're bivalves, they're adhered to the shell on both sides. So typically it's on the top third of the shell here and here, and we're going to use the hinge here, which is the butt end of the oyster here.
Okay.
So we're going to enter the oyster just very carefully until you just hear a little bit of a pop.
Ah, that was a pop.
So we've released a little bit of pressure on the oyster.
Have you ever hurt yourself doing this?
Oh, a couple times, but I don't like to talk about that.
It takes some practice.
It does, absolutely. It's a skill and has taken a long time to master.
So you could try it at home.
It is definitely something you can try at home.
But with care.
With care, with due care and attention.
And it's still attached to the bottom, is that how it works?
It is, that's correct. So normally what we would do at the restaurant is we would shuck the oyster, we would present it. This would be one that we wouldn't serve in its raw form because it would just be a little bit on the damaged side. But what we would do with this one is we would place it on a sheet like this and we would serve it to the guests and coat it in butter, in the sense that we would coat it in butter in a panko gramolata, which is an application we do at the restaurant.
Beautiful.
So we go from raw before and after the baked application, which is also another way that that you could do it at home.
Okay, and what's this now? This is a different way of preparing the oysters?
Correct, that's right. So we have the same oyster here, but they've been dredged lightly and emulated with a little bit of a chili sauce that we do in-house, meant to kind of imitate the idea of a fried chicken from Taiwan. So it's our fried oysters.
Great. Now, can I try one of these ones?
Absolutely.
These are the raw ones. So what have we got here for a sauce?
So pairing with our oysters, obviously, I'm a purist myself, so I personally like enjoying the oysters in its rawest form and without anything by themselves.
You want to taste the sea.
That's right, and they are just like a wine. They're a product of their environment, and they are very much something that takes a long time to grow.
Yeah.
So I do with maybe a small, light amount of mini net to bring out the inner brininess of the oyster.
What's in a mini net there?
So a mini net is an acidulated liquid, usually vinegar-based. Here we have a apple cider mini net with shallots and black pepper, and freshly grated horseradish and lemon for all those that want to get a little bit jazzier.
Okay, would you suggest I go for the jazz? Because I do like the horseradish. Why don't I try one with just the mini net?
For sure. First impressions?
It's light, it's sweet, very, very fresh tasting.
Excellent.
Very fresh. And no, you basically don't have to chew.
That's right.
It's so soft.
That's right. I would recommend a guest who is new to oysters to give it 1 or 2 chews before swallowing the oyster.
No, I did chew,
Excellent.
but I just was trying to point out it was very, very fresh tasting.
Absolutely.
That's lovely. Now, Fanny Bay, you're involved as well as in a seafood festival?
That's right. We will be participating in a seafood festival that hasn't been able to go on for the past 3 years due to COVID and restrictions. So we will be participating in the BC Seafood Festival on June 3rd and 4th. We also have a couple other things coming up. We'll be celebrating our birthday on the June 23rd, which is our 6-year birthday that Fanny Bay has been open for. Very excited.
Awesome. Now, okay, you just keep going because I'm eyeing
Absolutely.
this chowder over here. How do you make this chowder? So this is the milk-based, cream-based chowder?
That's right. So it's a New England-based chowder. So instead of clams or other seafood, we've replaced it with obviously the unctuousness of our oysters and put them at the forefront of the conversation.
What's on the chowder? Is that a little chili oil?
It
or
is a
something?
little chili paprika oil with some freshly chopped
I'm going
chives.
to get one with a chunk there.
And as we're doing that, I'll plate these up. So these are the grilled oysters I was mentioning before, and this is kind of an idea of how we would do these in the restaurant.
I'm going to taste the chowder, and I want to thank you very, very much
Thank
for
you very
coming in,
much.
Tommy. Enjoy the festival, and congratulations on 6 years.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
That is gorgeous and smooth. I'm getting just a little kick of the chili, just a little kick.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.